Okay, so welcome to video training number 2. I call this executing your plan, but really it's about staying on track. I mean, the most important objective of this training is learning tools to be able to maintain course on your one thing. How are you going to stay on track? And that means being forewarned is forearmed. You need to learn some tools to be able to kind of keep immune to some of the distractions that outlaw and ambush some of the best entrepreneurs. One of the necessary lies I often hear is that I'll get to that when I'm less busy later. You've probably heard that from some of your buyers. Well, I'll get to that when I'm less busy later. I'm too busy right now. Well, we learned in video 1 that priority management, when someone's overwhelmed, it's not about having too many things to do. It's that everything has equal meaning. And yet, the reality is balance, or counterbalance as I call it, means assigning different meanings to different things. As a matter of fact, that's what simplicity is. But when we say to ourselves, I'll get to it later, it's a necessary lie. And I've worked with superstars, and nobody is ever less busy later than they are now. So we must remember the brevity of life, that we stay and live close to death. Death is one of the most motivating things of a living human being, because you have to ask yourself right now, with what I'm doing, is this what I would be doing on the last day of my life? And if it is, you're in the right place. You're on purpose, and you're using your gifts doing the right things. If it's not, then maybe relook at it again. Think about the qualities that are in it that maybe you're not utilizing, or maybe you're not learning enough, or you're not mastering, or maybe if you engaged a little more, or maybe teaming up, or setting bigger goals, or figuring out what else you could be bringing to customers. You have to bring meaning to the game. It's your responsibility to bring forth and conceive of what really matters to you. What matters to you is not something that you can discover. It's something that you can consider. I learned this after years of workshops, of junkies being in workshops trying to get that it in shining armor of, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Searching and searching and searching for all the answers, and it's like, honey, pass me the salt. It's been right in front of you the whole time. What's in front of you the whole time is that there's a chance for you to see something better, different in what you already have. And sometimes it's just doing little tweaks, little changes to what you're doing that makes work more fun, more exciting, more hopeful, more exuberant. It makes the future look even better. Even if you're overwhelmed, meaning you have so many things that have the same meaning, or you don't have enough support, and you're overwhelmed, and there's not enough time in the day, you still have choices. And if you don't think you do, think again. Your life is up for grabs. Your career is up for grabs. You can rethink your life at any time. And you choose to be the predominant creative force in your life. So with that being said, let's talk about the quality view and the quantity view. There are two views that you can operate from when you react or interact with life. The quantity view is you look at 24 hours of time. In other words, I have a 40-hour work week. I'm in the economic means of time and effort. A lot of us as employees have that leftover blueprint. Unfortunately, we head into sales with that mentality, and we suffer. So I recommend that you live your life like an athlete or an entertainer, because how they structure their time has to do with why they're the highest paid people on the planet. They rehearse really well, they're prepared, they have great climactic moments where they have terrific performances. These things are separate. But in business, we don't do that enough. You should. How you do that is by looking through the quality view. When you're living in the quality view, suddenly you're not running out of time anymore, because you're looking at things qualitatively. You could take an hour, and what you do in that hour to create more value by upgrading your skills, by bringing more listening to it, can be exponential in what you get. You can take an hour of free time or 2 hours of free time and engage differently, qualitatively, and have a very different life experience. So I'd invite you to move from the quantity view of time, if you're there, and put on a different view to the quality view of time, and everything starts to shift. Everything, the perception from which you're looking begins to shift, because now everything is looked at qualitatively. Time is looked at in terms of quality. You now suddenly know what time is. Time is worth something. It's about quality time. So that way, there's really never any time to waste. You're always in the quality view of time. Remember, you have a very small number of units that lead to a very large number of outputs. 20% of your day leads to 80% of the results. 20% of your clients bring you 80% of the results. 20% of your clients bring you 80% of the headaches. 20% of your products make 80% of the revenue. This is called the law of progressive imbalance. So it shows us that very small units in any system produce very large outputs. And we can use this as a form of really structuring our quality time, because we look for the significant fews, not the trivial many's in whatever we're doing. And this is a mindset. So when you think about managing your intensity, you have to manage it with renewal. Like I said in priority management, renewal and free time is just as important as intensity. In sport, the breaks and the downtime that the athlete has is just as vital as the intensity of the play in the game. Now, if you're one of those high achievers that doesn't know when to stop, if you're a one-man band that's running yourself into exhaustion, there's a diminishing return to that. You can't really get different results after 55 hours in a week. If you're working a 70-hour work week, you're going to get paid the same or less as a 55-hour work week, because it works incrementally like that. There's a certain amount of time where you go beyond, where you're no longer creative anymore. Because you haven't had enough renewal, you're getting into what I call the reactive zone or the mechanical zone, and you're likely to have a poor state of mind, you're not focused, and this is where salespeople create what are called a lot of messes in their life. Messes are obligations minus commitment. Messes are drains. I call them tolerations. So scan your environment right now. Think about how much in your personal or professional life you're putting up with. You're probably laughing as I'm saying this, because as all human beings, we have a way of automatically getting sucked into leveling out our standards. I'm putting up with that. I put up with that. That's because you've assumed that it's too much to change it, so you've given up. And you've said basically that maybe by letting it go, by procrastinating, I'll let it work itself out on its own. And this is the thinking that really hurts the salesperson, is we start believing that just by ignoring things, by not dealing with tolerations, that they're suddenly going to go away on their own. So whatever tolerations are, you can have high ones, you can have kind of medium ones, low ones. High ones are real mucky messes, maybe things going on in your personal life. You've got to clean those things up. So in your 12-week year, I recommend that you kind of take down 2 or 3 really key tolerations that you're putting up with. These are energy drains. Anything you're tolerating. I had a toleration, I kept seeing a scratch on the hood of my car every time I'd walk out of my house to drive to work. I was putting up with it over and over again. I didn't realize how much distractibility that thing had. Or I had an appliance at my office that I kept working with. I kept working on it as it is, just kind of leveling out at what it is instead of doing something about it. When we get complacent like this, when we go into procrastination mode, we're usually looking for a guarantee of something. And when that guarantee doesn't happen, we just sideline the thing and we put it off until later. We ignore it, and then it builds up into more and more layered distractibility. Don't do that. Be proactive. Identify tolerations. Focus on 3 maybe in your 12-week year, or maybe do 1 every month, or focus on maybe 1 every week. But in a 12-week year, remember, we're going to speed that up. So remember, the month is the week is the day. So tolerating becomes an all-time high. When you start to eliminate tolerations, you're freeing up all of this bound energy. Now you can redirect it to a better place. You also have a never-ending inbox. Email is such a time suck. It is so innovation killing, I often wonder if we shouldn't have invented it. Because all I hear is, JD, I'm answering emails constantly. Again, you're probably laughing as I'm saying this because you're up late at night trying to handle all of your email. Or you're up early in the morning trying to handle all of your email. Everyone's in a quandary about handling email. So we're going to be talking about some strategies to contain your stuff. Get your email under control. Because if you don't get your stuff under control, you can have a lot of perspective in terms of what you want to create, right? A positive focus, your 411, your priority management, your 12-week year. You got all these fantastic choices and ideas, but it's like spitting in the wind. You can't get to them because you're not addressing what's right on your runway. You've got all these pictured items, short, long, little picture, big picture, but you can't even get to it because you have no control. So if you have no control and you have a lot of perspective, you're living on Someday Island. If you have a lot of control but you have no perspective, you're a hopeless doer. But if you have a lot of control and a lot of perspective, if you put those together in a great way, you're master and commander. And that's what we want to achieve here in executing your plan. You want to be master and commander. You got command of your own destiny, you're captain of your own ship, but you also need to get what's on the runway. You need to get the initiatives that are on your plate, not backlogged, but get them moving. Get them prioritized, get them kind of getting symmetry with what you want to create, fit them into your plan, or clean them out, clear them up, don't do them at all, but make decisions about them. Remember, counterbalance. The one thing. Everything can't have equal meaning, right? That's what overwhelm means. Being overwhelmed is just the same as doing nothing. It's just a lot more unpleasant. So you have a never-ending inbox. And the never-ending inbox is this, is that you will never clear it out. Okay, did you hear me on that? Let me say that again. You will never beat your inbox. That's the fatalism that you have to realize here. Would you want to clear out your inbox and have no life? Or would you like to have a few complainers that you can live with and have a life plan? You will never finish it all. Your business could eat you alive. You could work 168 hours a week if you wanted to. The faucet is yours. You're your own bouncer. So you're the one who has to cut loose on the never-ending inbox. Then you have voice stuff. You have voicemails. Then you have paperwork. You have cell phone. So it's usually voice, paper, and email, digital things that we're going to be putting some wooden stakes in, because those are vampires. You probably promise a lot. And you promise so much that you've become a yes man. You don't like disappointing people. You don't like disappointing. You want approval. And so you say yes to a lot of things that you probably shouldn't say yes to. So why not start under-promising and over-delivering? I had a printer client one time that was promising the world, and then one day he had one press, he had 25 requests, and he could only handle 5 jobs. People liked him because he was nice, but they also appreciated him because he kept his word. So he called all 25 and said, look, I know what's really important to you. I can't give you speed, but I promised you quality. Would you be willing to substitute speed with quality? They all said, of course. I want to get my stuff printed right. You're the one who's going to deliver the quality product. I don't want to screw you up. I want you to deliver it the way you do. And that was client-driven. They all forgave him, and he delivered a fantastic production. And he's continued to this day. When he hasn't scaled up his machinery, he's wanted to keep it profitable and lean. He's made those communications to say he's prepared to handle it. He knows what's important to them, and he's trading quality for speed. And then what he did was, he planned it for Friday. Let's say that he started Monday, but he said, look, I'll have it to you by Friday. He under-promised and over-delivered. And then he'd get it done by Thursday. And the client would say, wow, I feel like a priority. You got it done earlier. Because he under-promised and he over-delivered. He under-promised and he over-delivered. There's another paradigm that I often hear that I'd like to work away at as well. It's called access equals success. If your brand, if your unique ability, if you're asking clients what their buying considerations are of you, if it's because you're responsive and that you're accessible, that's not going to last. You're really on the cuff of losing all of your energy, and you're going to be fully exhausted. Because if you're accessible all the time, that's educating your clients that you're a paramedic. And you're always there at their beck and call, and whenever they pick up the phone, you're always accessible, you're always there. You need to get a better value proposition than being accessible, because accessibility is not what success means, right? If you made yourself accessible, that means you'd be the one who's doing it all, you'd be the one who's expected to do it all, you wouldn't have a life, you'd be working up until 12 midnight. Maybe you are. So we're needing to drop that thinking that access does not equal success. So what does that mean? That means we have a time to value model. In the quality view, we start looking at how much time you're spending for the value that you're getting. So I'm going to show you several things that you're going to be doing to get more value out of the time that you spend. And we're going to start talking about those tools now. So one of the first tools that you can do that is to get control of your week in the 12-week year by creating what I call a milk route. So what I'd like you to do is to break down all the activities that are commensurate with your production goals, with your personal goals, and your process goals. Start making a list of activities and routines that you need to do. Remember, life and business. Start picking the activities that are the 1 or 2 things that are going to be most important to achieving the one thing in your production and the one thing in your life that matters most. And then build a milk route. And I learned this from my own milkman, is he would go to different houses and drop off the milk. And when he showed me his route, he had a time-blocked schedule. It wasn't terribly fancy. He even sketched it out on like a piece of graph paper. And he had it, it was like a hard papered element. And it wasn't even digital, but it worked. He said he started there and then he started loading it into his Google Calendar, or he put it in Outlook later. But I like to be hands-on with this kind of stuff. So what he did was he said, okay, here's the work week, here are the time blocks, here's how he's going to milk out his time. Well, one of the things that he taught me was that the first 90 minutes in the day is where you're going to get your morning burst. So anything that you find more difficult should be done between the time you get your head off the pillow and about the first 90 minutes of the day, because that's when you're going to be most effective. And if you need to self-control yourself, in other words, do the things that you may not necessarily like to do, but that are on behalf of creating your outcome, it needs to be done in the first 90 minutes of the day. So anything to achieve your one thing that is the most reluctant thing you're going to do, you want to do what we call eat the frog. And I got this from Brian Tracy. I love it. It means you got to eat the frog. It tastes like crap, but you've got to do it early in the morning, and you earn that habit. You work that habit of using your first 90 minutes, and then after those 90 minutes, you take a renewal of 30 minutes, and you give yourself some off time. And off time is you can elect to do anything you want. You can play. You can do that for 30 minutes. You get it out of your system. You break the routine that you're doing for that 90 minutes. And again, you have 90 minutes and 30, and that's really the first 2 hours of the day. In the milk route, whatever you're doing in the morning, I recommend that you do not answer emails first thing. That you have 2 blocks in the day of about an hour each if you need them, or a half hour, but time it. Make sure that you are decisive about the time when you're doing return email blocking. Remember, access does not equal success. If you're training your clients that you're on your email all the time, you're telling them that you're available and that you're Clint Eastwood on the email, you're a quick draw, and when they email you, you're going to be answering, and that is going to kill you. Don't do it. Start now by being decisive of not answering email first thing in the day, and then at the end of the day, triage your email. Don't finish up your email at the end of the day. Triage which emails you're going to handle and which you're not. So in your inbox, I'd like you to set up a subfolder called the action folder. And when your emails come into you, ask yourself, can I do this in 2 minutes? If you can, do it, because it would take you longer to look it up after it's stored somewhere. So can I do this in 2 minutes? Answer it. Maybe if it's just an initial hello email, or it's a reset to here's when I will handle this email, the point is you're making the communication within 2 minutes. If it needs more thinking, then drag it over to the action folder, put it in there for your return email blocking when you can give it the right kind of thinking when you're prepared to handle the email. Make appointments with yourself to do your emails. Don't just be a quick-fire email person who's constantly under the gun of email, because email is invasive. It intrudes upon your best thinking. So really manage your email with some of these simple techniques. If you need to relay the email to someone else, set up a system to where in the subject line you name the task of what you're doing, or the customer number, or the person. Then you initial who you're going to be delegating it to, and then you put today's date. And then CC the email to yourself in your CC line. When you get it in your inbox a moment later, drag it over to a waiting folder that you create underneath your action folder. That way when you come in and you're relying on other people, you have a waiting list of things that you're depending on other people for. I found when I started doing this, I felt I had a system for delegating. I had an out. I had a place to put things. I could relay stuff. Whereas before I didn't have a system, I wouldn't do it. I'd suck it up myself. But instead I started thinking clearly, who's most fit for doing this? Who has a unique ability to do this? Who's the best person suited to handle this sort of thing? And I had a waiting folder. So what I did was I forwarded it. I got the subject line. I put the task so I'd recognize it without opening up the whole email. And then I put in the initials of the person that I was sending it to, and then today's date. What's really neat about this is that I may notice 5 days later when I open this up that it's been 5 days since I offloaded that to this person. I may need to hover. I may need to follow up with them. And I know that that's an important thing I need to accomplish. So using some of these tricks in the email are very, very helpful elements that will keep you maintaining some kind of control. So create your milk route. You've got your 90 minutes in the morning. You're constructively doing your email. You've got 2 consistent time blocks per day of handling and doing that email returning process. You want to make sure that you build a communication builder with the people that you interact with and who you rely on. And that means even with your most important clients, you may have a group of clients, a small group, that are most interactive with you. You may have a group of internal people, internal customers, peers, co-workers, internal people that you rely on. And so I recommend that you do what's called a communication builder with them. And these are going over 3 questions. The first is about method. The second one is about timing. And the third one is about problem solving or handling stress. So what is the best and least preferred method to communicate? The best and least preferred method to communicate. Maybe that's by text, maybe that's by email, maybe that's by phone, maybe that's by meetings, but maybe clarifying the expectations with the other person, least preferred, best preferred, your least preferred, your best preferred, allows you to align on a communication stance that will help you not drop balls and help you be more sufficient. Also, focus on the preferred timing of things. What is the best timing? What is the least preferred timing? Timing may have to do with, do we do it on the spot? Do we wait till the meeting to handle it? How do we use the timing? Do we wait and think about it a little bit? But maybe talking about perceptions and expectations about timing is important. Handling problems. What to do. What is the way that you like to feel supported when you're handling stress? What is the way they like to feel supported when they're handling stress? What are the expectations around handling problems? So method, best and least preferred. Timing, best and least preferred. And problem solving, best and least preferred. I call this a communication builder. Maybe in accordance with your one thing, think about in the next 12 weeks, who are the most important individuals that you're going to depend on to achieve your one thing? Your production goals, your process goals, and your personal goals. Who are the most important individuals in your support systems at home? Who are the most important ones at work? And then go over timing, go over the method, and go over handling stress or problems. This is called the communication builder. Your voicemail is a great tool. It's become kind of a pastime, but I find it's a fantastic tool because often what we do is we can set up a voicemail to give better instructions. So what I recommend is be more detailed about your voicemail request. Let your calls go to voicemail and do not give out your cell phone. Access does not equal success. You've got to take back control. Be your own bouncer. So by taking back control of your cell phone, put a voicemail together like, "Thank you for calling. I return calls within 10 hours. What I'd like is to please leave specific details about the purpose of your call, tell me what your name is, spell it out on the call, and leave your number twice in writing speed. If the call is urgent, please email me at urgentmyname@yahoo.com or urgentmyname@gmail.com. Thank you." What you're doing is you're getting the person to put the urgencies in writing because a lot of urgencies are perceived, they're not real. So what we want the individual to do is when they really have an urgency, they really have an urgency. That means everything that goes to that urgent email that you set up is in fact being urgent and you'd want to check that. But anything else goes to voicemail. It gives you a chance to call back and know what's really going on. It gives you a purpose and a message to call back with. Also, make sure that you make 3 calls out to 1 call in. When you do more calls out, you have more control over the time. And if somebody calls you, just communicate a cutoff time by saying, "Hey, I only have 5 minutes. Can we get it in now?" Communicate those time frames up front. When you're going into meetings, state the meeting introduction. Get a green light on the time that it's going to take. "Hey, Joe, as we get started, I'd like to introduce you to myself and the services that we provide, and then I'd like to learn about you and your situation. I think we'll take about 20 minutes on that." And so at that point, we'll be able to mutually decide if we should proceed further or not. Does that sound good to you, Joe? Yes. Joe knows exactly where you're headed. Whenever you go into your communications, identify the one thing, the message, the one thing that you could say if you could say nothing else. Before you pick up the phone to call your next prospect, think about the one thing that you want them to know or the one thing you want them to do and start with it. Get right to the point. When you're writing emails, get to the point. Think about your message. A lot of times we read emails, it's because people are editing and brainstorming at the same time. Don't edit and brainstorm at the same time. When you're writing an important email, write it down thought by thought. Then identify your message. What's the one thing that I could say if I could say nothing else? That's my message. You put it right at the top. The purpose of this email is, please do this, or I'd like you to know that, and be right up front. You won't have go-backs. You won't have to make up for miscommunications. It'll be crystal clear. And then as you decorate the other elements of the email, maybe start off with a relationship builder paragraph that really shows appreciation for the relationship, starts it on a high note. Then your message, then maybe a background statement or two, no more than 3 statements per paragraph, about the past, what supports the message, and then your development, what do you want to do next, and then your call to action. Joe, I really appreciate you having been a client for the last 5 years. I admire your passion and interest in your business. The purpose of my email is to acquire 2 favorable introductions from you for my business. I think I've earned those introductions because we've worked very hard together for the last 4 years. I really appreciated the result we were able to achieve with this particular sale that we did. You mentioned how pleased you were with it. Going forward, I'm going to be increasing more and more value to your account, and I look forward to serving you with better and better solutions as we innovate off the feedback that you give us. I'll be phoning you 10 o'clock Thursday morning to talk about a couple of favorable introductions. I look forward to speaking then. That's what I'm talking about. The message is up front, relationship with the reader, background, development, call to action. Get right to the point. Whenever leaving a message on a voicemail, leave the message. The purpose of my call is, what I want you to know or what I want you to do is as follows. People love it when you get right to the point. Keep your environment impeccable. Your office looks like your head. You should be able to find things. If you have an office, I recommend you set a day when you won't have an office anymore. You have a no-office solution. Offices are huge setbacks to entrepreneurs. They don't make you any money. They're just a place for you to say you have an office, and it makes you feel like you're a strong person. As if having an office was going to make you more important. You're a honcho. You have an office. You have a place to hang your hat. But really the only thing that's done in an office is detail work, stuff, file cabinets, support staff, backstage. That's not where singers want to hang out. That's not where performers want to hang out. Bad things happen backstage. They get caught in things. They want to be out front stage. That's outselling. So if you want, make it a marketing center. Get a conference table, your laptop, and your phone. Otherwise, turn your car into your office. Have a mobile results machine. Set up your trunk so that you can do business from anywhere. Set up your iPad. Put the right systems around you so your environment is impeccable. Grant power to your environment. Hey, that's a thought. My clothing is my environment. My appliances are my environment. Everything I use is my environment. When I start changing my environment, I start holding myself in a different way. You're kind of like a crab. The crab has the exoskeleton, and you're changing your environment to hold you in a certain way. When you change your car in the way it works, when you clean up a mess, when you eliminate a toleration, you're changing your environment. When you upgrade a shirt that you love to wear, you feel different in it. When you upgrade the lighting around you, you feel different. When you put rock on, when you're doing prospecting, that vibe, that's an environment. So clean up your environment. Start finding environments. Maybe in the next 12-week year, pick 3 environments that you can perfect, 3 tolerations that you can eliminate. And when you start changing your environment, you notice a change in your mentality. You notice a change on its influence over you. The environment is like an apparatus. It's like a carriage. You're changing your environment. What an idea. You're granting power to the environment. That's pretty radical because that environment is controlling you. It's holding you. So figure out environments every 12-week year that you'd like to perfect, but make your environments impeccable. Your office looks like your head. You should be able to find stuff. Don't have an office. Plan on getting rid of the office. Mobile results machine. Make your car great, or have a marketing center. You just need a conference table to meet people because that's what you do. When you're talking to people, you're making money. That's what you're doing. You're creating value for someone else. Also, make sure that you build a super reserve in areas where you're running out of stuff. Because if you're running out of something constantly, you have a fear instinct. Buy way more than you need. Get all the supplies that you need so that you never run out. I always buy 2 laptops so that I'm never running out. I buy 2 of everything so that I'm always knowing something's going to be there. When you have contingency plans, your confidence is roaring. So figure out what you're always running out of. Make a run-out list. What are you always running out of? What are you running out of at home? What are you running out of in your business? Are you running out of money? Are you running out of people? Are you running out of supplies? Are you running out of something? And you'll notice when you stop running out, because you begin focusing on getting way more than you need, it's called building a super reserve, you start noticing your confidence is going up. You're getting more traction. You're more in the lanes of your goals because you're not getting drawn off track by these shortages or these scarcities suddenly. I mean, I've had individuals, they run out of something during a meeting and it totally throws them off track, right? Or I've had photographers at weddings run out of having enough space. So those three, perfecting your environment, having an apparatus, an environment that you grant power to, that holds you in a certain way. A very radical step to grant power to your environment. Everything is an environment. Anything you depend on that holds you in a peak performance way is an environment. Your clothing you wear, the coffee you drink, the food that you eat, everything is an environment. So when you change your environment, you start figuring out what kind of impeccable environments are going to bring me into being the way that I operate at my best. Your car is an environment. The lighting in the room is an environment. And then you tolerate nothing. Is that you start eliminating some of these tolerations and you get the energy, then you combine that with the environment, and then you build a super reserve so that you have way more than you need, and that way you're not in a fear instinct. You're not running out of anything. You're getting ahead proactively on what you're constantly running out of. So this is very, very important. Be mindful of what your time is worth. Take the amount of income that you're going to make this year, and then divide that by the number of hours that you plan to put into it. If you're going to work 200 days this year, think of the amount of hours that you're going to work and divide that into it. Or take the amount of actual high performance days, money days that you're going to work. So if you're doing 8 every month, let's say in a 12-week year, let's say that you're going to do 24 high performance days, 24 24-hour periods, which if it's a 12-week year, that would mean 24 days in 1 year. That means you're going to make the majority of your income off those days. That means the 20% equals the 80%, a significant few amount of time to really execute and get in front of the right opportunities. So that gives you an hourly rate. When you start to know what your time is worth, it makes it very difficult to waste it. So you begin to become sensitive to any distractions that are starting to be non-essential. You're beginning to foul out of this knowing what my time is worth. Now, I talked about how when you are separating your performance from your practice, you get better. And so it's important that you put the right preparation habits in place. And this involves having those maintenance days. So on maintenance days, you're doing 4 things. You're delegating, you're preparing for your performance, you're cleaning up any tolerations, and you're improving on any systems or anything else in your game. So think of it like a race car driver that's off the track that day. You're not racing, you're not doing money-making activities, but your touches are delegation, preparation, cleanup, and upgrade. And so there's about 8 of those. There's 24 of those in a 12-week year. Those are specific 24-hour periods where you're focusing just on your backstage. You're focusing on getting everything ready, handling details, handling matters that are not going to earn money, but maybe they're preparation elements to earn money. And again, the more that you separate these two, the more your design and execution will get better. You'll be more efficient. You'll be more effective. Am I interrupting anything pressing or urgent? So when you call someone, don't ask them if they have a minute, because nobody has a minute. And you may need more than a minute, and you're probably the most important person calling them. So when you call them, I'd like you to consider asking this, and this will set you apart. Am I interrupting anything pressing or urgent? Am I interrupting anything pressing or urgent? When you ask that of another human being, it's honest. If you say you got a minute, nobody has a minute, and you need more than a minute. But am I asking you, are you into something pressing or urgent? If you are, then I'll call back, or maybe we'll set a call together. But am I interrupting anything pressing or urgent is very respectful. And then go into your message. Set your call agenda. We haven't spoken before, but the purpose of my call is, and then get a green light. Be very intentional, be outspoken, get your message up front and clear, and get right to the point. When you're handling service requests, because you're going to be getting them, if you're doing sales and service at the same time, I recommend that you train your clients to text you on service requests. And that gives you more leniency on when you get back to them. It's in writing, so you can refer back to it. Anything that they put in writing is going to require them to sit down and think about it. So having them put it into text doesn't require any ping-ponging or phone tagging. It gets right down to, here's what I want in the text. Then you can call them back and maybe play back what the service request is, and then let them know in kind of that prepare, interest, benefit. Hey, I'm prepared to handle this for you. Trade quality for speed, and then under-promise and over-deliver by agreeing on when you're going to handle it. Now, I said that I know that's a process. Sometimes, though, you'll need to pivot. When somebody gives you a service request, you're just not going to be able to handle it. And so probably just acknowledging them that they called you, you understand the nature of their request, and you're going to be getting to it as soon as possible. It's more important to just acknowledge it than it is to complete it. You have control over the process on how it gets completed. All they want to know is be in the loop. They just want to be in the know. That's what they're worried about, is ambiguity. So don't leave those clouds. Don't do that. Ideals are more important, or ideals are often more difficult than values. We all have at some level ideals and standards of ourselves that tells ourselves what to live up to. So you have standards of perfection, and you know you do when you say, I should. So when you have a failure, you say, well, I should do this. That's an indicator that that's an ideal. You've picked this up along the way. You've gotten this from different learning that you've had in school, mentors, in your upbringing. But you have ideals that you have. These are standards of perfection. Most of the time, you can't even meet them. And so what happens is we add all these extra steps that we have to do to try to meet our ideals, because this is the person that I need to be. I should be this. We can't use failures as assets. It creates incredible delays and screws things up. So instead, get rid of all of your ideals. Start putting together an ideal recognition list of what all my ideals are. I need to be charismatic. I should be on time. I should be this. I'm supposed to be this. The kind of person I would be is this. A person like me would. Those are all your ideals. When you're living in your ideals, you forget you have choices, because your ideals rule you. And you're constantly in that argument about never quite being good enough. Or you don't turn out your performances soon, you don't get into action because you wait on perfection until you start. I'd rather have you have it done a little bit and start and learn along the way, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting until it's great and roll it out. So use a 60% or 80% approach. So that means that success is actually going to be 80% of goal. It's 60% of goal. 60 is a lot better than 30. But I like putting it at 80%. No one has to know about it. But having an 80% approach gets me to get out of my perfection and get started on what I need to get done. So, perfectionism, procrastination. Procrastination, you're always looking for a guarantee. There is no guarantee. So you can blow that up. Just get started. And perfectionism. We have an ideal of ourselves. The alternative is my values. What do I really want to create? What matters to me? Not everything can have the same importance. So if I know what really matters to me, I know when I'm doing what is not my value, and I know what I'm doing, what I am in my values. I can tell when I'm neglecting my values. Values are different than ideals. Shuck your ideals, stay true to your values. That way you won't add all the extra steps that you need to. Oftentimes I hear people having to deserve the things that they desire. And because they marry what they deserve with what they desire, they have to do all these things to expect what they deserve. So they live up to a bunch of ideals to be able to expect the good life, or expect the dream, or be able to have the dream. So they add all these extra steps to think, well, I had to really earn it. And if I didn't, I feel really guilty. So what you do is you make everything harder. That doesn't allow you to execute your plan. That makes you put in a bunch of extra steps to try to live up to your ideal. Take your ideals out of it. Keep your steps relevant to the value, to the love that you have for what you want to create. That way the goal is basically synthesizing the non-essentials out and taking the necessary steps that are in accordance with your one thing, that are necessary to get the goal. So just do that. Know your limitations. The best strength that you have is to know your limitations. Don't work on your weaknesses. You're wasting your time. You're going to miss out on all of your strengths. If you're executing on your plan, you're going to be getting different anyway. If you create what you want, you'll become a different person by creating what you want. Stop improving yourself. Stop trying to fix something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to fix yourself. Creating is not deficiency-based. So let go of your ideals. Focus more on your values. You'll eliminate a bunch of waste. Deserve does not equal desire. You desire things for their own sake. You don't need to shrink to learn how to play the piano. Creating is not about your identity. You don't need to be adding in all these extra steps trying to live up to someone because you're so critical of yourself. Let go of perfection. Use an 80% goal. Once you get there first, and then you'll have the flexibility for nuances and mutations, because not everything is going to go as expected. Ain't that the truth? So know your limitations. Ask for help. Quit being a rugged individualist. Trying to do it all of yourself has to do with your ideals. You're trying to be a man. You're trying to be courageous. You're trying to be strong. You're trying to be this. Let go of being a rugged individualist. Part of your maturation from adolescence to maturity as a salesperson is letting yourself get help. Receiving help is a masterful skill. Giving help is a masterful skill. When you allow other people to help you, you put them in touch with a helping quality. You give them leadership. Know where you need help. Know your limitations. Ask for help. Not all the help you need or are going to get, you have to pay for. There are interns. There's bartering. There's people that will volunteer because they love doing it for you. You're just hung up on asking because you don't want to be a burden to someone. Ask for help. If you need a ride to the airport, ask for help. If you need something done, ask for help. A lot of people will just do it because they want to please you, because you requested it, because helping makes us feel good. It offers opportunities to give value just for the joy of it. So learn how to receive help. Receive the help that's around you. You may have help that's been around you, but you're not asking. And then you say, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. You got help. Quit thinking you're a burden to everybody else. They're adults. They'll tell you if they don't want to help you. That's their choice. But your job is to make a request. Don't demand, make a request. Ask for help. During your free time, have some solo journeys. Go out in the nature. Go alone. Be alone. Use intentional silence. Use your morning ritual in the morning and have 15 to 20 minutes of intentional silence before you start your day. Silence is a great place to start from. Use your morning ritual to quiet down. Stop the cadence in your mind. Schedule your breaks during the day. I have 3 off times during the day. They're 3 30-minute periods that are unbreakable. I don't negotiate them. It's what I do. To relax, to rejuvenate, to meditate, to kick my shoes off, to walk on the grass, to take a trip to the beach, walk around the building, watch a TV show, goof around on the net, whatever it is, be a human being. Check my cell phone, text, Facebook, whatever it is, you're there. And so you're going to have a need to do these things. If you need a couch potato, schedule couch potato time. Right? Don't be guilty about it. Have guilt-free play. That's what you're doing. You're here to live. You're here to be alive. Play. Rekindle the spirit of your youth. That's what you did when you were young. You got up. Hey, I'm going to play with this truck. What do I do? Hey, all right, I got up to play. That's what you are. You're just in an adult skin. You have more conditioned thinking. But your soul is still here. Your spirit is still here. So play. This is called blue sky time. Blue sky time is time to be in the blue sky. That's like the Smile Express. When you're out in blue sky, things get exciting. You look up at the sky, you look at nature, you check out at night, you look at the moon, you notice things, you see the sun is out there, the most basic things in life that you miss. You hear the birds in the trees. Blue sky time. Blue sky time is time to be grateful for what you have. Think about that. Be grateful for what you have. What have you done? What have you created? What are the blessings bestowed upon you? Who are the people in your life? Be reverent. What do you have? Being grateful means that you're full. You're not asking for more. You're going to be getting enough. And lastly, want what you want. Get out from your needs. Your needs are one thing, but don't feel guilty about wanting what you want. You don't need to justify what you want. What you want, what you dream of, is something that matters to you. Want what you want. Want what you want. Stay with what you want. Don't compromise. Stay with what you want. If you're going to stay with what you want, you got to know what you have. So knowing what you have means you're being grateful. You have gratitude. You have a sense of knowing what's bestowed upon you, what your gifts are, what you're grateful for. Take stock. Take stock of the things in your life that you appreciate. Smell the roses. You know all these things. I'm just reminding you. So take an opportunity to say 5 thank yous per day. Pick out 5 people that you want to say thank you to. Pick them. Want what you want. If you have bigger business to attend to and you're wanting what you want, when you get negative emotions or things get off track, you have bad days, you're not satisfied, that's all part of being human. It doesn't mean you create when you're inspired. It doesn't mean that you create when you feel like it. You create because you love something enough to make it exist. You don't create it because you deserve it, right? You create it because you just want it. It's that simple. But you got to know what you have to want what you want. And having means knowing the good, the bad, and the ugly of where you really are. The more that you know where you are, the more resourceful you will be. If you're not honest with yourself about where you really are, what you're lacking, what you're doing well, what you're not doing well, you're going to start making changes for the wrong reasons. You're going to start problem solving, getting rid of things that you don't want, instead of building architecture, creating things that you do. Staying in that generative orientation. And whenever obstacles come up, think of yourself like an Aikido master. You harmonize with the energy of it. Rather than push against things in life that don't work, when you have someone that turns you down, or you have an unexpected circumstance, or you have this sudden drop-in moment where you get a surprise hit in life, you're like a wrestler. You take the hit and get the gift. Remember that every moment is an invited guest, that everything the future needs is being given to you in this moment. Everything is waiting for you. Think about how powerful that statement is. Everything is waiting for you. Even your disappearance, even your demise is waiting for you. Everything is waiting for you. And that means the mystery of the future is waiting for you. You're taking meaningful leaps into uncertainty. Everything is waiting for you. So with that being said, you have a lot of tools here. I gave you a rich palette of different tools. Thinking tools, strategies, voicemail strategies, email strategies, managing your stuff. As you heard me, probably 3 of these strategies are ones that resonated with you. You've thought about your current reality, you've looked at where you're going, looked at who you are, you looked at your predicament, and you've thought, boy, that's something I'm going to take. And even if you implement that, little hinges are what big doors swing on. It's the small things, the little details, that make a really big difference. So think about your one thing, think about your 12-week year, eliminating tolerations, perfecting your environment, building super reserves, and then think about these other techniques and tools that we've got and pick out the ones, the significant fews that you're going to implement daily, weekly, and then calculate the impact over the month. You're positioning yourself on a course of action to get to your one thing. And remember, you've got to know where you are in knowing what you want and going on what you want, focusing on wanting what you want, not what you need, but what you want, and don't compromise. But be accurate about what you have in comparison to that. Do not deserve what you desire. You don't need to put your worth in front of what you desire. What you desire is what you want. So just want what you want, and then do the things necessary to get it. This was our video on staying on track, eliminating distractions. Thank you. See you on the next one.